This song is filled to the brim with subtext. It's gonna be a pointed song. There is some mild emasculating diction present within these song titles, some infantilization of someone, perhaps kind of sassy. This relationship was diseased. The love was not healthy any longer. The protagonist of this song is in a relationship that she is trying to revive. There is nothing of substance. There's no more lively energy. If something was of value, it would naturally be of value. It would naturally be the gold standard. But she's trying to make it happen herself. You can't force things. Coincidence? Perhaps. Knowing Taylor? Perhaps not. Welcome to my mini-series in which I analyze every single bit of information we have so far about the Tortured Poets Department, Taylor Swift's 11th studio album that will be released on April 19th. Yes, this album has not been released yet, but we still have things to analyze. So far, I analyzed the album name, The Tortured Poets Department. We broke that down, went through different interpretations of what it could mean. In my second video, we analyzed the album artwork for the Tortured Poets Department, the album imagery. In my previous video, we analyzed what I would think are released lyrics or like a little poem that has to do with the Tortured Poets Department. We went through line by line, analyzing the diction, the metaphors, the imagery, etc. Today, we are going to be going through the track list for the Tortured Poets Department. I'm going to be analyzing them, telling you my thoughts. I'm not going to pretend like my reactions and interpretation about the track list will be correct at all, but I think it'll be really fun to go through them, and I would love to know what you think as well, so feel free to join the conversation with me down below. If you are new here, I analyze song lyrics through the lens of literary analysis, concentrating on things like diction, metaphors, imagery, etc. Taylor has given us a lot of work, a lot of things to go through and analyze. We might as well get started. The first song is called Fortnight, and it's featuring Post Malone. When I personally think of the word fortnight, I always hear it in my mind in an English accent. A fortnight. I can't do a good English accent. It sounds better in my head. And that's quite interesting when you look at the dictionary definition of fortnight. A fortnight is like literally 14 nights. It's like every 2 weeks. According to the definition, this word isn't used much in American English, but you'll come across it if you travel to England or read a lot of old British novels. The word fortnight is still used in Great Britain, and it is literally the shortened form of 14 nights. I always think about the word fortnight in like a poetic way. It's like very like ethereal. It's like every fortnight you will find me binge watching 5 episodes of Gilmore Girls I've already seen before. Only the ones with Jess. It is pretty interesting that this is a word used in Britain in Old English because we have had a song called London Boy. In my previous video, I talked about or I analyzed Coat of Arms. It's part of the lyrics that were released, and Coat of Arms is something that is present within historical British homes. And we have a track on this album that bids adieu, bids farewell to London. Coincidence? Perhaps. Knowing Taylor, perhaps not. For me, what sticks out is the fact that this is an Old English word. I'm not going to try to overanalyze things that can't be overanalyzed. This is just literally 14 days. Something happened in the span of 14 days. So that's cool. We have the concept of time. Next track. Hi, welcome to this photo booth recording of me. There's more that I want to say, so I'm just going to be popping in. I'm literally editing right now. I can't do a full setup. It's kind of like we're on FaceTime. Okay, it's cute. It's a vibe. But yeah, I want to point out the possibility that the song title Fortnight is meant to be ironic. Because again, it's a word in Old English, like a British word. We're saying farewell to a London boy on this album. So maybe something happened within a fortnight or every fortnight that, you know, was not chill vibes. And this word is used because it's an Old English word, because the person that portrayed the protagonist or the person that this is about is from Britain, right? Taylor is very detail oriented. She's very detail oriented. So it's a possibility. I wanted to point it out. The next track is the title track, The Tortured Poets Department. If you haven't already, go watch my analysis of the album title. I would analyze the song title in pretty much the exact same way. I like that we have a title track. I've heard rumors that there was a title track for Reputation and for 1989, but you know, rumors are rumors. I have a feeling that the poem or the lyrics that were released are from track 2. I will be interested to see how it actually sounds. Track 3, My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. The tone that I would read this with is as follows. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. This sounds like it is throwing some shade. I read that with the emphasis on favorite because it's ironic that someone would break something that's their favorite. This would suggest the boy here, perhaps the love interest, doesn't care about things that are his favorite. He maybe doesn't see their value anymore, kind of jaded by their presence. The use of the word boy is interesting. It could be emasculating a little bit because one would assume if this is the same protagonist that's present in other Taylor Swift songs, that their love interest would be a man and not a boy. So that diction there could be very intentional. You'd expect a boy to have toys, but not really a man, right? Some infantilization of someone. Perhaps, kind of sassy. Taylor has infantilized people before in her songs. For example, This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things, that song title is something that you would tell to a kid, kind of. And then there's a specific lyric which states, This is why we can't have nice things. Because you break them, I had to take them away. That's something a parent would say to a child who is being bad and acting up. This sort of thing is also seen in the song Better Than Revenge, where it states, soon she's gonna find stealing other people's toys on the playground won't make you many friends. This is meant to diminish the other party involved here, to suggest that they are acting like a child and they are acting in an immature way. The toys here could be anything. It could be metaphorical and running parallel to how this boy is treating the love interest and the relationship. Track 4, Down Bad. I did not like the way that I analyzed this song title, so I'm going to be interjecting here. Down Bad is like a modernized way to say that you have really strong feelings for someone, but your feelings are so strong that it's like hurting you and bothering you. This is talking about a lot of emotion, but I find the song title to be indicative of a passionate sort of love or interest. I don't really place a lot of value on words that are modern slang. This track list is interesting because we have some really long song titles, some really ambiguous song titles, but then we have song titles that are kind of like slang, like modern slang, like Down Bad, like LOML. And I would argue Fresh Out the Slammer has a similar sort of energy. Maybe it's possible that those three songs are about a specific person, like a different relationship. Remember, in my previous videos in this series, I talked about how maybe this album is a retrospective of all the tortured poets this protagonist has been involved with. I have this thing where I don't really like there to be modern references in music. Like, there's this song by The Killers. It's the song Here With Me off of their Battleborn album, which is their best album in my opinion. If you need to like drive at night, listen to the Battleborn album by The Killers. Chef's kiss. And there's a lyric, and I'm gonna butcher this a little bit because I'm not gonna look it up, but it's like, don't want your picture on my cell phone. I want you here with me. I love The Killers so much, but something has always mildly irked me about the mention of a cell phone because it modernizes a song, and I would prefer for a song just to be timeless. I think it takes away the mystery and the intrigue and ambiguity when you say specific things like that. So I think like Fresh Out the Slammer and Down Bad and LOML, even though I think LOML is going to be probably my favorite song, those song titles have a certain energy to them, and it makes me think it's about a relationship that does not have much depth. I don't know, like think about it. When you are like saying your wedding vows, do you want to say modern slang within the wedding vows? You might. And if you do, that's chill. I respect that. But I think in love and romance, when something is genuine and real and there's depth and value to it, I personally wouldn't associate that with like LOML. Do you know what I mean? Or Down Bad. It's kind of like when you're in a relationship with someone and sometimes you use their full name. Not like you're mad at them, but instead of saying like, hey, Will, you're like, hey, William. You know what I mean? It's different. It's like more proper. It's like a form of respect, and it's just, I don't know, it's like more intimate. I don't find like modern slang to be intimate or pure, like emotionally. And I'm not trying to like talk down on this phrase or anything, but words have a connotation. They just do. I also think that Florida may have a similar vibe as Fresh Out the Slammer and LOML and Down Bad. I don't know why. I think Florida maybe about the same relationship, because I get similar connotations from those words. They just feel maybe passionate, maybe modern, but they feel fickle and they feel surface level. Those are my thoughts. Let me know if this makes sense to you, because it like genuinely within my soul makes sense to me. I just feel like those song titles are indicative of a lack of depth in a relationship. And I would associate that with a relationship that is maybe more surface level or maybe not as long term. So for some reason, I'm associating this with not being about the long term relationship this protagonist has had, but maybe a shorter relationship. Remember, we don't know the lyrics yet. So this is just based on song title, but that's something that is intriguing. Track 5, So Long, London. Our protagonist is saying goodbye to her former London boy. We do have some sprinkles of mild references to Britain, as I've mentioned earlier, so this is quite interesting. I think that London here is representing the location that is mostly associated with our protagonist's past relationship. Oftentimes, we define our life and our experiences and our eras through the locations in which they primarily occurred. So, this is a goodbye to the location and to the relationship, and perhaps even who the protagonist was during that time. That is what I'm thinking. Logically, it would make sense to me, but Taylor always has something interesting up her sleeve, so we'll see if I'm correct or not. So Long London is also a track 5, which if you're a Swiftie, you know that is Taylor's most emotional track. So this song is very likely about the end of that relationship. So to add on to this, I think it's really important to take note of and to consider the concept of setting and place because it's important. It's important. I want us to think about New York versus England and London. One thing that is important to keep in mind is that this relationship did not just occur in England and London, it also occurred in New York. I want us to think about the album Lover. I want us to think about the song Cornelia Street. That was one of the earlier videos I did on this channel, my analysis of Cornelia Street. And I argued how Cornelia Street is a physical manifestation of the protagonist's love. Cornelia Street in the album Lover allegedly is about Taylor's relationship with Joe Alwyn, which is a relationship that ended this past April. I find it really interesting that there are so many subtle and not so subtle references to England and to London, but no reference to New York. I say this because New York is very important to Taylor and to her identity, I would argue, but it also was a big part of her relationship. The lyrics in Cornelia Street illustrate this. I hope I never lose you. I hope it never ends. I'll never walk Cornelia Street again. That is a very dramatic statement, right? But it's a testament to how intertwined that relationship was conceptually with New York City and with Cornelia Street in particular. False God, I'm New York City, you're the West Village. Setting was kind of personified in a way and meant to represent each party in the relationship. So it's interesting that we have a song that says So Long London, but we don't have a song that's called So Long Cornelia Street, right? These are kind of subtle things that I'm picking up on, but I think it's important. I find the concept of setting and place really interesting and really satisfying to analyze because we ourselves in our own lives, consciously or subconsciously, define lots of things in relation to place, right? We define past relationships, friendships, memories, emotional states with a location, whether it's a country or whether it's like the corner of your bedroom. I kind of like the fact that we don't have mention of New York in the Tortured Poets department so far. If you're watching this in the future, I'm analyzing things before it's released, okay? So maybe there are references, but I like that it's mainly concentrated on England and London because New York is Taylor's turf, right? This to me suggests that perhaps Taylor Swift has been able to rework her definition of New York, redefine it, and reclaim it. And she doesn't need to say so long to New York. I don't think this song, So Long London, is her saying that she's never going to go there, but I think she is redefining it in a more intense way because London and England, it was always just that lover. It had one sole definition that was more one dimensional. Her definition of New York was more three dimensional. Maybe it was like 4K because it was her life and her music and her friends. But London and England, it was 100% him in the relationship. So I would argue that London and England is something that this protagonist needs to rework more in their mind. That's why we have so many subtle and not so subtle references to it, right? Remember, coat of arms is part of medieval history. It's also something that is visually prevalent in historical British homes, right? Fortnight is a British word. There are references to England so far, and it could be like a pointed jab. Again, I'm glad New York is not referenced. It suggests to me that Taylor's relationship with New York is chill. She needs to rework how she defines London and England because it was 100% defined through that relationship. Track number 6. But Daddy, I love him. This is serving the Little Mermaid realness, which coincidentally was released in 1989. I don't know why everything just like is connected to everything within Taylor Swift's life, but this is just the reality we live in. This is interesting. Taylor actually dressed up as Ariel for a 2019 New Year's Eve party where the theme was to dress up as your childhood hero. She looked super cute. She looks really good in red hair. Like in the Babe music video, I was like, Taylor needs to have an era with red hair. Even in the Bad Blood music video, I'm like, she looks really sultry with red hair. Like literally go off. Taylor seems to have a relationship with The Little Mermaid. She finds value in it in like a personal way because she dressed up as Ariel. The whole notion of this song title, But Daddy, I Love Him, it feels juvenile. It makes me think of Young Love, where there's a lot of passion, where the parents are opposed to the romance for probably very valid and logical reasons, but the protagonist in that situation doesn't care because of hormones and because they're viewing everything through a passionate rose-colored lens, a very vivid sort of rose-colored lens. It's just young love, chaos, passion, heightened emotions. And what this protagonist, this young protagonist, I would assume, is thinking is a fated soulmate sort of relationship, when in reality, it's not their soulmate. That's the sort of thing I'm thinking about thematically, young love, passion, or not. What do you think? I am back again with my photo booth quality. There is another perspective that we can view the song title through, and it's like a cuter perspective because ultimately, in The Little Mermaid, our protagonist, Ariel, does end up with Prince Charming. So even though she was being very dramatic and having an attitude and being like, but Daddy, I love him, she was correct in the end, right? You can view this through the perspective of, oh, love conquers all. It's me and you against the world, baby. Like, they don't need to understand. You can view it in that way as well. And that could be a more hopeful perspective towards love. I don't personally view it in that way. I just stand logic really hard. I say often on my channel how much I love emotions, and I do, I truly do, but I value logic more. And I always think that you need a very stable logical foundation built, and then you can be passionate on top of that. And you can be quote unquote reckless on top of that because you have something to back you up. But when you are in like a very chaotic, passionate state of love, I don't find that to be balanced. And that's what I associate with this song title. But Daddy, I Love Him. To me, personally, that's not romantic, but I understand how it could be to some people. And I understand how a good number of people may view like The Little Mermaid as like a cute romance cartoon. There's multiple ways to view the same thing, and I just felt like it was necessary for me to acknowledge the more positive interpretation because again, we don't have the lyrics yet. So it's really difficult to say which way this will go. I definitely agree with what I just said 5 seconds ago when I was wearing green and much better lighting. I don't get a positive connotation from it, but you know, my biases are my biases. I would love to know what you think. So tell me. Track 7, Fresh Out the Slammer. This is quite intriguing. The slammer means prison. I think this is probably going to be metaphorical or not, honestly. We don't know. Maybe the protagonist feels like they have been released from prison after a relationship has ended, which says a lot about the relationship. For some reason, I feel like this song and Down Bad are going to have a similar vibe. But also, again, like literally maybe not. You guys, I know I'm popping on here a lot to like add some more of my thoughts, but initially this video was meant to be just like for fun because we don't have the lyrics and I didn't really find value in analyzing things too in depth. But as I was watching this video back to edit it, I think there's more that could be analyzed that is still something of value. So I don't know, I felt the need just to add some more things in because I like take this really seriously. So I felt like it was a betrayal to myself to like be thinking of things and not include it. I just would feel lackluster to me. Like you guys wouldn't know, but I would know and whatever. Anyways, I'm back again. I can't help like watching this back to think about Bejeweled. I just keep thinking about Bejeweled. I really love the song Bejeweled, and to me, very briefly, I think it's a song about the protagonist not wanting to be holed up in a relationship anymore that's not serving her. And she wants to have the glitz and glam, literal and metaphorical, back in her life. When someone is in a relationship where they feel stifled and where they feel like they can't be themselves, where they feel like maybe their self care has been altered in a way, they may feel like they are in a metaphorical prison. They may not feel like they are literally or metaphorically bejeweled. So I think this song could be related to that, or at least to that energy. Maybe this song is about the same relationship Bejeweled is about, or maybe it's the same type of energy. I mentioned earlier how I think this song, Fresh Out the Slammer, Down Bad, LOML, and perhaps Florida are about a different love interest. Maybe this song is about like the relationship the protagonist had after she broke up from her long-term relationship, because she was fresh out the slammer, she was newly single. And when people, you know, come out of something, they may not be making decisions the same way they would be usually. It's like a getaway car. When you have a getaway car, you don't really care where it's taking you as long as you're able to leave. Just like interesting thoughts, interesting vibes. Um, the connotation of the song again, it's like kind of like slang a little bit. It's not like a timeless, eloquent sort of thing. Um, so I'm sorry, my hair is just doing crazy things. It's like literally 2:30 in the morning. So fun vibes. The connotation of the song, as I mentioned earlier, makes me think that this is referring to something that does not have a lot of emotional depth. It is fueled by passion and heightened emotions that are not sustainable and at the end of the day are lackluster. Track 8. Florida with 3 exclamation points featuring Florence and the Machine. I literally have no idea what this song is going to be about. Florida is my home state, so it's probably going to be about alligators, Publix, and humidity. That was funny, right? That was cute. I like made my little joke. Aw, this is getting to be like meta now. Anyways, I've touched upon this before in my video when I was talking about setting, when I was talking about the connotation of songs that I think are connected to Florida, like LOML, Down Bad, and Fresh Out the Slammer. This song title has a youthful sort of energy because of the exclamation points. I read it like this: Florida. It is kind of like an excited sort of tone. I don't think it's juvenile, but I think it's youthful. But if someone is very youthful, are they wise? IDK. I don't know if I've ever heard Taylor mention anything about Florida specifically, so lots of novel energy in relation to the song title. I am interested to see how it's going to go. Also, are any Floridians watching my video? Please comment down below and please go and eat a Publix sub and tell me how good it is so I can live vicariously through you. Publix is one of the few things I miss about Florida. I did leave on purpose, so like I'm fine. No shade, but you know, people vibe with different places. I'm going to be introspective because it's literally almost 3 a.m. and I'm getting delirious. I'm going to be vulnerable with you and share something. One of the only things I miss about Florida are the sunsets because Mother Nature had a very beautiful color palette in relation to the sunsets there, just very vibrant oranges and purples and pinks. So shout out to that. Shout out to Publix. I'm going to share with you an anecdote because it's 3 a.m. and I'm delirious. When I was living in Florida, in our neighborhood, we actually did have an alligator in like the lake in our neighborhood. That is like terrifying. There are like children that are playing outside. So everyone called animal services to like come and like relocate the alligator to someplace that was good for them, but also away from literal children. And they came there and they were like, oh my God, there's an alligator. And we're like, oh my God, like we know, like we're aware. They're like, yeah, like the alligator is here, but it needs to stay here for a few weeks because it's too small to be relocated. It was like a baby alligator, I guess. I think it was at least a teenager because it was pretty big. Long story short, we had to live adjacent to an alligator for like a few weeks until it was big enough to get moved. That was like terrifying. That's a normal thing that happens in Florida. If this song mentions an alligator, I will be very shook and I will believe that I'm psychic. Track 9, guilty as sin, question mark. The question mark here is really interesting. Without the question mark, I would think the protagonist maybe is talking about themselves. The question mark here makes me think that this protagonist is unsure whether someone is guilty as sin. It's more of a contemplative sort of tone. That's what the question mark here is making me feel. Question. The diction guilty and the diction sin, they both have negative connotations, and when coupled together, it makes it feel even more bad, even more guilty. If this was a statement where it just said guilty as sin, this is someone who has done something really, really bad. But the question mark here makes me wonder why there's a question mark here. We meet again. Okay, I have like two theories about the song title. This could either be an introspective song title or it could be an accusatory song title. So the protagonist could be saying that someone is guilty as sin, or they could be introspecting about themselves as themselves being guilty as sin. So let's just talk about the song title really briefly again, because I guess, like, why did I even film this video the first time? I'm making a new video right now. The word guilty and the word sin, the diction that's present here, it's like a double negative, double heavy feeling vibe. I'm not going to be eloquent anymore. It's too late for that. The word guilty is heavy. It's a heavy emotion, whether you're feeling it yourself or whether you're trying to accuse someone of being guilty for something they did to you. It's a negative emotion. Regardless of whether you are viewing sin through the context of religion, it is a heavy loaded word, and it suggests that something has been done that is bigger than a mistake. It is bigger than an oops. It's something that is punishable in like the afterlife, I guess. So this is a pretty serious accusation or pretty serious thing to internalize. However, the question mark kind of cuts through the seriousness that this song title is suggesting, because there's like heavy vibes, but there's also a feeling of like unsureness. And to me, that's kind of funny. It's kind of comical. Maybe this is a like sassy comical thing where you're like, where the protagonist is like, you're saying I'm guilty of sin? Look who's talking. Lots of ways to go about to view the song title through. And again, we don't have the lyrics, so there's nothing to contextualize this. These song titles are like genuinely very interesting to me because they like don't seem connected, but they do seem connected, and some of them seem kind of silly and like lighthearted in like a positive way, of course, but then others seem like really heavy, and I'm just like, what is going on here, Taylor? Like, what is the truth? What is the truth? Track 10, Who's Afraid of Little Old Me? This is kind of sassy, and I enjoy that thoroughly. This song could be about anything. Perhaps the protagonist feels like they've been underestimated. Maybe they didn't think anyone would expect them to potentially, possibly name an entire album about a group chat their ex was in. If that's what Taylor did, that is alleged, and I don't even know if I fully believe that myself, but this is kind of like an underdog sort of scenario, in my opinion. This is definitely a song title with a lot of subtext and could potentially be very sassy, and I am intrigued with this one as well. Track 11, I Can Fix Him. No, really. I can't. This is giving me tortured vibes, because if you are in a dynamic where you think you can fix your romantic partner, you are torturing yourself, honestly. That person is probably tortured within themselves, and now you're going to torture yourself, and it's just like not good vibes. We should try to avoid those situations the best we can. This seems like an introspective sort of song where our protagonist gets herself in some emotional trouble. She is going to be in emotional pain. Track 12. Track 12 is probably going to be my favorite track based on the song title. It's LOML, all lowercase, which stands for Love of My Life. I really enjoy how Love of My Life is a very like grandiose sort of phrase. I love how that is abbreviated, first of all, and how it's all in lowercase. It just is a very interesting juxtaposition to me. I really enjoy things like this. I also just enjoy talking in text. I like to do that IRL sometimes. So LOML, I think this is just cute. For some reason, it's giving me delicate vibes. I don't know why. I also just like how this word looks in lowercase. It seems like a balanced word because we have the two L's and then O and M. When it's in sans serif, it all just looks very aesthetically pleasant. This analysis of this song title is just based on how this song makes me feel very, very personally. It's not based on any logic at all, but I'm excited for this song. I think it's going to be cute. Less than 3 ampersand hearts semicolon. I want to also offer another opposing perspective to everything I just said about LOML because I recognize that it's extra bias. Everything I say is bias, right? Everything is my own personal interpretation. However, the connotation of LOML to me is very strongly based on the fact that I grew up with MySpace, and MySpace is like the foundation of my personality in an existential way. That is not a hyperbolic statement. I just think text and talking in text and things like that are just cute. And I know this is ironic because in my previous video, I talked about how I define myself through words and how words are my identity. But your girl still talks in text sometimes, okay? Two things can exist at once: eloquence and saying OMG in conversation. They can both exist at once. It's possible that this song title is ironic. Maybe this love interest was texting the protagonist and saying that they were the love of their life. That's a pretty big thing to say. Maybe the protagonist later realized that what they were texting, LOML, was not how they actually felt. This could be something that is sad and negative and ironic, and I wanted to point that out. It's definitely a possibility. I also want to acknowledge the fact that it may seem like I'm contradicting myself in this video because I talked about how I like it when songs are timeless. And I also talked about how LOML may be my favorite song because I just like the connotation. LOML is a pretty modern song title. I want to explain how I'm not contradicting myself really quick. I think that there are different ways to like something. I love the song Delicate so much. It's a song that I listen to very, very often. It is art, but to me, it's cute art. It's just so cute. The song Enchanted to me is so cute. The song The Lakes to me, it's serious art. It is something that doesn't always make me feel happy to listen to, but it's something that I respect so much and I learn from in a creative way. August to me is a song that I appreciate and I like because I view it as serious art. Not to say Delicate is not serious because it is still art and it takes so much talent to create a song that's cute like that. Same with Enchanted, it's just cute and beautiful, and it's not to diminish the value of it, but it's liking things in a different way. It's a different flavor of art. For me, the vibe I get from LOML is that it's going to be cute, but I feel like there are songs that hit you in a way that is more emotional that you don't listen to as often. I can't listen to The Lakes that often because to me it's just, I don't know, there's a lot of emotions that flow through that song and they're not negative, but it's a lot. It makes me go into thought pretty heavily whenever I listen to it. So I don't listen to that when I'm just putting on my lip gloss, getting ready for the day, right? I'll listen to Delicate because it's cute. Same thing with August. I love that song so much. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. But to me, the instrumentals sound like nostalgia. And sometimes it just hits me in the feels too hard. And it kind of affects my mood for a little bit, right? That's not something I always want to feel. For me, cute art is something that I can consume at any time and it won't alter my mood or my emotional state. So it's not meant to diminish anything, but it's liking things for a different purpose. It's kind of like how you have heels that are for walking or heels for when you know you're going to be sitting. The heels are all cute and beautiful, but you like them for different purposes. So I just felt the need to explain that. I know that may sound contradictory, and I hope that I explained it effectively so you can understand what I meant. But yeah, let me know if that made sense. And also, why is this part of my hair not curled? Don't look at it. Track 13. I can do it with a broken heart. This song title is giving me healing vibes. It's giving me I am an independent woman vibes. This is pretty direct. I don't think this has much subtext. I think this is just a protagonist realizing that they can get through things while they are in the process of healing. And that's very beautiful. Track 14, the smallest man who ever lived. This time the word man is used, not boy, but it's the smallest man. This to me is referring to someone the protagonist thinks is a weak man. Maybe they have a big ego and they talk the big talk, but when it comes to the reality of life, they're not able to hold up their commitments or to treat someone the way they should be treated. This song title is sassy, and I would assume this song is filled to the brim with subtext. It's going to be a pointed song. Hello. I apologize for like the patchwork quilt of a video this is, where none of the patches of the quilt match. Even though those quilts are like cute, I understand that this video is kind of all over the place. This has just been a video that for some reason has had roadblock after roadblock, and it's just, I don't know, it's just like that sometimes. But at least I have worn 3 different outfits and my nails look different than they did at the beginning, so hashtag silver lining. I want to analyze the song Alchemy, and I don't even have any clips from my first recording. So it's been an interesting time editing this video. Anyways, this is a really, really cool song title, and I want to start with a dictionary definition because it's important. Alchemy is defined as a medieval chemical science and speculative philosophy aiming to achieve the transmutation of the base metals into gold, the discovery of a universal cure for disease, and the discovery of a means of indefinitely prolonging life. There is a second definition, which states that alchemy is a power or process that changes or transforms something in a mysterious or impressive way. This, again, is referring to the medieval time period. It's at this point that I am certain that the references to the medieval times is not a coincidence. It's repeated way too often, and I believe it's very intentional. I've talked about this before, how when there are references to the past and to mystical, magical things, I subconsciously apply more value to what is being spoken about. If it is something that occurred that far in the past and we're talking about it, there must be a reason for it. Right? It must be something of value. It must be something substantial. I also want to talk about the concept of gold. I talked about how I feel about gold in a metaphorical sense when I analyzed the literal song Gold Rush by Taylor Swift, and also when I analyzed the song Champagne Problems, that bridge, that beautiful bridge. Your Midas touch on the Chevy door, November flush, and your flannel cure. And I did talk about how I think about gold in the series I'm doing right now on the Tortured Poets Department, analyzing the info we have before it comes out. Check out those videos to hear me talk about how I interpret gold in a figurative manner. I'm going to make it very concise here. I don't view gold as super positive. It is a very valuable sort of element, I guess. It's a valuable thing, right? It's worth a lot. And if something is described as a gold standard, it means it's the best of the best. However, when I think about it in a metaphorical sense, in a romantic sense, I find that it's heavy and it lacks lively energy. And lively energy is something that I think is very necessary to exist in the context of romance and of love, even platonic love. To me, there is no like movement within gold. It's just very stagnant. It's stagnant energy. If we are to think about King Midas, everything he touched turned to gold. Let's say he touched a person. That person would literally turn to gold, right? If that were to happen, that person would no longer be alive. Now would they? The result would be something of value, gold, but there would be no liveliness. There would be no soul and no essence of a human being left. So that is how I usually view gold in contexts like this. The fact that the alchemy is a song title here is so interesting to me. It's really satisfying. It's really cool. The way that I'm interpreting this, the protagonist of this song is in a relationship that she is trying to revive. There is nothing of substance. There's no more lively energy. She is trying to take a regular metal and turn it into something of value. She is going back to the medieval times, trying to learn this really complicated science. She's trying to get her PhD in chemistry to try to do this. If something was of value, it would naturally be of value. It would naturally be the gold standard. But she's trying to make it happen herself. You can't force things. If something is void of any positive, lively energy, either it needs to be brought back to life in a natural way, or you just have to move on from it. I don't think that things like this metaphorically will stand the test of time, even if you are successful initially. There is always a price to pay if you force things that are against nature. And I'm talking about like energetic nature. Like, okay, not to get like too woo woo, but I think that certain things happen when they're meant to. And I think that you can't force things to happen. Things should just happen naturally and organically. If you oppose things too much, you're going to create friction, and it's just not going to be a good scenario. There are certain things that when you notice they lack value, it just is not something that serves you anymore. And it's as simple as that. I also want to talk about the fact that this has the word the in front of alchemy. I talk about the word the really often, and I've been doing so in the Torture Poet Department series so far. The word the, as I've stated before, makes something very specific, and it kind of puts it on an important pedestal, right? It's not just alchemy, it is the alchemy. It is the thing that's going to revive this relationship. It places more significance and more importance and just more umph to alchemy, which in and of itself is a word that I find is like a pretty strong word. I want to look back at the definition of alchemy again, because not only is it a process that, is taking regular metals and turning it into gold, alchemy is also a study to try to find a discovery for a universal cure for disease. So we could also argue that this relationship is diseased. It is not a healthy relationship. It looks like modern medicine, or I guess in that time, medieval medicine, wasn't doing the trick. The herbs they were using to help people heal were not working, and now we have to resort to something different, something of a higher caliber, and something that is like, I guess, the last resort. So this is suggesting that this relationship was diseased. The love was not healthy any longer. Let's look at the last part of this definition. It says it is also having to do with the discovery of a means of indefinitely prolonging life. This protagonist wants this love to live on when it just shouldn't. It just shouldn't, right? If two people are in a relationship and they're not meant to be in a relationship, it's going to be detrimental to both parties. And this doesn't mean that either of the people in the relationship are bad people, but sometimes you just aren't meant to be together anymore. Sometimes your energies just don't vibe. You're going to start repelling each other, and that's going to trickle down into each of your respective lives, and it's not going to be a good scenario. Sometimes it is healthier to just let go. This protagonist is desperate to keep this love alive. This specific song title is so intense and so heavy, and it's so medieval that it makes this seem like a tragedy to me. It's very tragic that the protagonist is in this state and her desperation is tragic. I think she really loved this person, or maybe she was very tied to this relationship for one reason or another, whether it was in a healthy way or in a not healthy way. But what I can assume is that this protagonist is not ready to say goodbye, and she is trying everything she can to keep this relationship from ending. I wonder if the other party cares as much. I wonder if they're trying to get their PhD in chemistry. They probably dipped the second they had to learn what a mole was. Also, I know that alchemy is not the same as like G-Chem, okay? I'm just comedic effect, okay? This is a heavy subject. I'm trying to provide comedic relief, so laugh. Track 16, Clara Bow. Clara Bow is an American actress. If you are noticing a difference in quality, it's because my photo booth stopped working, so I had to get my camera out. We will just carry on. It's fine. Let's talk about Clara Bow. This song title is interesting and it's intriguing. And I say it's interesting and intriguing because I notice I say that about every song. If you have any synonyms, please comment them down below. I will go buy a thesaurus. Apparently I need one. Clara Bow was an American actress, and she is said to have personified the 1920s. She was a silent film actress, and in addition to being, a popular actress, she was also one of the first it girls. She was someone who had a lot of eyes on her in the public, and her love life and personal life became the topic of tabloids, and there were a lot of false rumors written about her. Clara Bow is someone who could have parts of her life that run parallel to Taylor's. Did Taylor buy one of Clara Bow's old homes like she did with Rebecca Harkis in The Last Great American Dynasty? IDK. This could also not be Taylor comparing herself to Clara Bow, but this could be a case study just on Clara Bow as a standalone. This song could go either way. Fun fact, Clara Bow is said to have been the inspiration behind Betty Boop. The more you know. Let's read a blurb about Clara Bow from Wikipedia for context. Clara Bow was an American actress who rose to stardom during the silent film era of the 1920s and successfully made the transition to talkies in 1929. Her appearance as a plucky shopgirl in the film It brought her global fame and the nickname the It Girl. Bow came to personify the Roaring Twenties and is described as its leading symbol. In most of the articles that I read about Clara Bow, her red lips were mentioned, and her Cupid's bow specifically. Taylor's red lips are mentioned quite often. They're a really important part of her persona and her look. They are part of her lyrics as well. She's got that red lip classic thing that he likes. Hear the truth from my red lips, right? This is a very loose parallel, but we're analyzing things, right? I'm stating my observations. Another very loose parallel are the 1920s. Taylor was into Gatsby and Gatsby vibes for a while, especially before Reputation happened and on the album Reputation. There's a reference to Gatsby, very loose parallel there. The Roaring 20s were the 1920s. We are now in the 2020s. A very loose parallel there as well. In one of the articles I read about Clara Bow, it states that her life is often known more for the rumors and the false gossip surrounding it than her actual achievements. It looks like her talent was overshadowed by the public's interest in her personal life. That could be another parallel between her and Taylor Swift. I don't think Taylor's talent is overshadowed by the intrigue in her personal life, but then again, I'm a fan of hers and I respect her. I imagine that some people that don't really care about Taylor Swift judge her for the way her love life is perceived. I will say though, I don't think that Clara Bow's art and work centered around her own personal life the same way Taylor's does. Taylor's art, her music is inspired by her personal life. Her art is presented in a public setting for the public to consume. So it is a little bit different still, right? That much attention on your personal life can have a very negative impact. Clara Bow is said to have had lots of mental health struggles in her life. So it does not seem like she had an easy life, even though she was very famous and successful at her job. Another very loose parallel is that Clara Bow was from New York and Taylor Swift is New York City, and he's the West Village. An article on Vogue referred to Clara Bow as the original It Girl, stating she was the 20s and there were shoals of It Girls, but Clara Bow was it. Clara Bow was also a party girl. I don't think Taylor is a party girl, but some people could argue that Taylor Swift is an It Girl. She has a lot of influence, and if she's wearing something or does something, there is going to be a lot of interest in it. So this could be another parallel as well. Again, I don't know if this is meant to be about both Taylor and Clara Bow, but your girl is just here pointing things out. I like how Taylor does refer to historical figures. You know, we have Rebecca Harkis, we have the song The Lucky One off of Red. And that's not about like an explicit historical figure, but it shows introspection on part of Taylor. And I like that because it's important to look back in history to see how people were perceived within society and how their actions within society led to how their lives were unfolding. Especially if you're a public figure, I feel like there's a lot of value in looking to the past. All the wisest women had to do it this way, right? Let me know if you have any theories about the song title down below. And then we have the bonus track, which is called The Manuscript. Let's talk about the word the really briefly because it's important. It makes this manuscript specific. It is the manuscript, not any manuscript. I talked about the importance of the word the in my first video of this series where I analyzed the song title of this album, The Tortured Poets Department. A manuscript is original copy of a book or article before it's actually printed. It's like the first version before it's published. There are going to be multiple other drafts after the manuscript. And back in the day, the manuscript was mostly handwritten or typed with a typewriter, perhaps with pitch black ink that came from the author's veins. Maybe. It's interesting this is a bonus track. I think this track is going to give us a lot of details. I, for some reason, am envisioning it as having the same type of energy as The Lakes. The Lakes is such a beautiful song. It's one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. It gives us so much context and it's exquisite, and that was a bonus track. For some reason, I think the manuscript is going to be like that as well. I think this song is going to go with the theme of the album really well. I also think for some reason it's going to be parallel to the title track of this album. Maybe this is the early drafts of what the protagonist thought the relationship would be like, expectations versus reality sort of situation. It didn't turn out the way she thought. Or maybe this is a manuscript, a first draft for this album or for the breakup. There's different ways to interpret it. I feel like this track is going to be important and perhaps poignant. I want to know what you guys think about what I'm going to say right now. You know how there are some song titles where the song title is nowhere to be found in the lyrics? I think that maybe some tracks on the Tortured Poets department may be like that. Maybe they're more like poems where it's meant to be a descriptor of the contents of the song, but it's not something that's like repeated in the chorus. There are popular songs like this, for example, Bohemian Rhapsody. Those words are never uttered within the song. Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls is one of these songs. And also Graceland 2 by Phoebe Bridgers is one that comes to mind as well. I just have a feeling this might be possible based on the types of song titles we have. I could be totally off base, but I want to know what you think about that. I think it's a possibility, especially for maybe the longer song titles we have on this album. It'll be interesting to see how, like, rhythmically they're going to be incorporated into music. Just a thought. Let me know what you think. And those are all of the tracks on the Tortured Poets Department album. I really hope that this is a very lyric heavy, figurative language heavy sort of album. I crave that from Taylor, especially after we saw what she did on Folklore and Evermore. Let me know your thoughts about the track list. What are your predictions? What sticks out to you? Which song do you think is going to be your favorite? Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Bye!